So the video I'm doing today is actually a follow-up on a post which I did a few days ago, which was all about the importance of staying in charge of the conveyancing process. So what I mean by that is when you're buying or selling actually a property in the UK, very often we get to the point where we've got an offer accepted, and then we feel yes, that's it, I've got it, and there's almost a sense of relief that another project is going to happen. But it's not the end, it's really the start of everything. And I was highlighting, emphasizing in this post a few days ago the importance of staying really in charge of that process from the moment you got this offer accepted. Do not rely on your mortgage broker, do not rely on your solicitors to do everything that they are supposed to be doing and to be doing it diligently. You've got to stay in charge and stay the leader of that process, following up, chasing, asking questions, and so that's what I was talking about in the post. And then I thought, well, maybe I ought to develop on that and then go through an actual live example of a property which I am currently purchasing, and see what are these documents that we get from our solicitors. So it's true for selling or buying, but this is a buying example. And what are the things that we need to look at. So let me open a few things. So we've got these here. That's Adobe Acrobat, and then I've got all the documents here for this purchase. So what you will get with typically, you hear words and terms like local searches and some forms that you get. So if you're buying, your solicitors is going to be asking the vendors, the sellers, solicitors, for some information about the property. So there are two standard documents which the seller needs to fill in, and which are important documents. So one of them is what is called a property information form. Okay, so it's an official document which can I get rid of this here? Don't know. Well, we'll leave it like that. So here's an example. So we've got, okay, it's pre-filled usually by the solicitors, and then it will give you information. So there are clear instructions of what the seller is supposed to be doing. It's a legal document, so it's got weight. And then instruction to the buyer. The seller gives you separately from this form any information concerning the property on which you wish to rely when buying the property. You should tell your solicitor. You are entitled to rely on the replies given to the inquiries, but in relation to the physical condition of the property, the reply should not be treated as a substitute for undertaking your own survey and making your own independent inquiries, which you are recommended to do. So, and one thing I'll mention now is you cannot expect your solicitors to check all the information given by the seller. A very simple reason is they have not seen the property. Okay, you've been doing the viewings, or you did the viewings, or maybe you had somebody in your team doing the viewings, and hopefully, as you should, you've had a professional, a surveyor going around the property who's given you a report, and all of these should be then raising questions. Seller is only obliged to give you answer based on their own information, and they may not have knowledge of legal or technical matters. So again, the importance of surveyor. So what do we get in this? I'm sure So it talks about boundaries. There's a section of boundaries, and that can be important, to understand who is responsible for which boundary. Very often there's kind of a norm in the UK that when you face the property, anything to the left is yours and to the right is the neighbor's, but that's not always the case. So it's true that often sellers do not know exactly what the story with the property or the boundaries are. So in this case, for example, on the left it says not known, so that doesn't really help me, but I know that on the right and to the rear and to the front, it will be my responsibility when I buy. The seller is telling me that. There's some very good information after, if they are irregular, indicate within the ownership. Have they been moved in the last 20 years? So this gentleman says no. They haven't owned the property for 20 years. That I know, because that's something that I've checked. So here's another tip. Ask your solicitors to check when did they buy the property, or maybe you've downloaded the title yourself from the HM land registry. But that's a good way. When was it sold, or you can pick it up on Rightmove, maybe under house sold prices. Seller is supposed to let you know if there's been any change, if any parts of the property has been sold. So that can happen. I bought a property, not this one. I bought a property about 4 years ago, where the real land, a portion of the real land, had been sold on to a developer. So now I'm selling again this property. So I've got to share that, and explain. It's all done properly on the title, but it's my responsibility to share. So here it says no. Is there any overhang, project under, boundary, neighboring property? This could create all kind of if it said yes, there could be all kind of questions around covenants, right of access, right of light, etc., which would have to be looked into by your solicitors. And have there been any notices under the Party Wall Act? Important. Then disputes and complaints. So that's very important to know, and that's important what the sellers say, because if they don't declare maybe an issue, then you could have some rights to go back to them if something appeared. So disputes and complaints, notices and proposal. Are there any notices outstanding from a government, from the council or the government, or other negotiation or discussion taking place, affecting the property? Alteration and planning and building control. Now that's an important one. I'll come back on that, but I mean, hopefully your surveyor or yourself during the viewing, you will have picked up whether the property had maybe an extension built, if there's been a window moved or a door added somewhere. Remember that any outside modification, are likely to be requiring planning and building control. If bathrooms have been adding inside, if structural work have been done inside the property, these will require building control approval for them to be okay. The simple example, it's not the case of this property. I'm buying another property currently, and I picked up that the chimney breast, one of the chimney breasts, 3-bedroom terrace property, box standard, but one of the chimney breasts is not there anymore. It's quite usual. People remove chimney breast in houses, but do they do it properly? No, they don't, because they don't take into account they take out the chimney breast in the living room, and then they take it upstairs in the bedroom, and then they don't do anything in terms of supporting the stack. Well, that's not compliant with building regulation. You're supposed to have a structural engineer having a look and getting you to put a small beam or gallows brackets, are they called, to support the stack. Yes, of course, stacks are usually shared. There's another chimney, it's shared with a neighbor, and it's unlikely it's going to fall, and things like that. But, that's certainly a point of negotiation if it's not done been right. And if you ever remove the chimney breast, you should be doing properly, that you never have a problem with insurance, safety in your property, and of course, when it comes to selling. There's another matter with chimney breast, which is party wall agreement from the neighbor. But okay, so in this case, we've got a re-extension. In this case, this property that I'm buying here is actually a large HMO, 11-bedroom HMO, which means that it's a sui generis HMO. So there was definitely, for this number of room, anything above 6 occupants or from 7 onwards, would require, for it to become a legal HMO, would require a planning application. So, and the seller says here, change of use from office to a residence. It was actually a doctor's surgery before. Yes, in 2010. It's also mentioned here, real extension. So when I know about it, but when you see that, in your property, this will mean that you will need to get additional documents to confirm that all of this was approved from a planning point of view and was all done above board and has been approved and validated from a building control point of view. More coming back on that later. If yes to question 4.1, if the work was undertaken during the seller's ownership, please supply copies of the planning permission, building control certificate. So of course they've got to do it, but you've got to ask, because it might not come automatically, and if none were required, please explain. So he's provided documents, which I will show you a bit later. Any of the works disclosed? Yes. Are any of the works unfinished? So it was done about 10 years ago. Is the seller aware? Important question here. The seller has got to confirm if they are aware of any breaches of planning permission conditions or building regulation consent conditioned unfinished work that does not have all the necessary consent. And if yes, please give tell. Now this is a big important tick here. They're saying everything is okay. I will be checking. Don't take that just for in good faith. Check the paperwork yourself. Are they planning or building control issue to resolve pending? Again, they're saying no, everything is above board. Then it asks about solar panel, ask about listed building, conservation area. So listed building you can check yourself. Here the seller says no, I know it's not a listed building, but if you go on the English National Heritage, is it English? Yeah, English National Heritage website, you can find any listed building. Then conservation area. So here it said not known. Not known. Oh, he doesn't know the seller, he says. So he's kind of saying, well, I'm not taking a risk. So what did I do? Well, it's very easy. You can go on any council website and look for the map. And the map, I've downloaded it actually. So here's a map of the area that I'm talking about. And I do know, because I've checked, that my property is somewhere here. It's outside of the conservation area. It's not in, because that's the conservation area. In this area, it's quite complicated. It's interesting. There's a small part here. Actually, I'm wrong. My property is actually up this way along this street here, so it's well further away. Sorry, because that's the railway line here, and I am a bit further here. My property is about here. So, but it's interesting. Look, along this street here. If you've got the property here, you're outside of the conservation area. If you're here, you're in. If you're here, you're in. You see that pocket here? Quite interesting. I'm not concerned, but it's easy to check actually this type of thing. There could be implication depending on what you want. If you're thinking of opening up new windows, for example, and you're in conservation area, there could be implication and things to be considered. So it's important to know. So even though my seller is saying not known, I now know actually because I've checked. What else do we have? Alteration again continues. So that's about the tree TPOs, tree preservation orders, guarantees and warranties, more applicable maybe to new build for new home warranty, but on a property like that, is there any improving and a warranty with? Is there any timber treatment, windows, roof lights, roof windows, electrical works, roofing, other? Okay, so a flat roof typically would come with some guarantees. So important to recover these documents if it is applicable. And if it says no, but you see that something has been done, recently, maybe 5 years, you've got probably the right to ask the solicitors through your solicitors for the vendor. But look, when was this done? Surely there is a damp-proofing guarantee if it's been done in less than 5 years or even maybe 10 years. Roofing, same if it's a flat roof, for example. What else do we have on this page? Guarantees and warranties continuing. So underpinning, of course, central heating, other. Any claims? Have any claims then been done on these guarantees? Insurance, is the building currently insured? And there's been anything abnormal with the insurance? That could be interesting. If there were any of these, why? And that would have to be looked into and dig deeper. As a seller had made any building insurance claim? No. If yes, please give details. Okay. Flooding and so on. Where is the flooding come from? If there's been, is there any risk? Has a risk report been prepared? No. So if it said yes, they've got to provide it. And no, well, you might want to consider to do that in your local searches. Radon, that's in local searches as well. Other environmental matter, EPC, they've got to provide the EPC for the property. There should be one. They can't sell the property on the market. There isn't an EPC, so we've got it in this instance. EPC, I've got it here, so it's all okay. It's a D. Remember that if it's F, you can't let the property. And it gives some interesting information about, potential, what could I be doing, at the time. They're telling you here on the EPC, what could we do to maybe improve it, and what did they actually assume. That should be checked. But okay, it's not a video about EPC if you've got questions about that. The one thing I will say though about the EPC, which is really interesting, it's usually a great second source of information about the size of the property. So 242 square meter, and that's usually pretty accurate. It's like a surveyor, So when the listing of the estate agent are usually not that accurate. Japanese knotweed, If they know of Japanese knotweed, they've got to say so. Other rights on informal arrangement, if there's any. Neighboring property, etc., etc. Let me move forward on that. There's any following rights or arrangement which affect the property that the seller is aware. There could be things in the title, which is what your solicitors need to do to check the actual title of the property. If there's any right of ways or things like that, easements, covenants. Services crossing the property of neighboring property. Do any drain, pipe, wire serving the property cross any neighbor's property? No. We'll come back to that maybe. Do any drain pipes, wires leading to any neighbor's property? No, it says here. Interesting. I'm saying interesting because you will see in the local searches it shows otherwise. Any agreements about drains, parking arrangements, other charges if they are occupiers. Okay, that's whether the property will be sold vacant or with the tenants in place. So in that case, it's all vacant. And then services, is it connected basically to all the services? Has anything been rewired? Yes, it's been rewired. So I've asked, for example, here I do not have. I've got a BS7671 electricity certificate. It doesn't say enclosed here, but he's provided it. But the installer's building regulation compliance certificate I haven't got from this rewiring in 2015. And my solicitor unfortunately didn't ask for it, so I've asked my solicitors, go and get that please. And then the building control completion certificate, I've got one, but I'm unsure if it's the right one. So again, I've asked my solicitor to go back and inquire with a vendor because I want to have all the proper documents. And if they haven't got it, then we may need them to take some indemnity insurance or something, or get it. Central heating, same story. What was done? When was it done? And then make sure you get as much as gas safety certificate history and service history as you can on the property. Drainage and sewage again. Is a property connected to the main? That's important. Ask if it's not connected to the main, it would probably have a septic tank, so that's not applicable, but there are questions around that. And then finally, connections to utilities, which is always good information. Where are the meters? Who is the current provider? Here the seller is actually kind enough to even give me a contract number, which will make it easier when we switch the utilities over. Main water, telephone, cable, etc. Transaction information, when do they want to do it, ASAP. Some other information about the sale, but so that's what you get in this property information form. It's 16 pages, seems to be like a list of tick, but I would urge you to go through it thoroughly and then check, and don't hesitate to ask questions. Rather ask too many questions than not enough, because once the transaction has gone through, it's gone through. There's nothing, and it's good to know what the seller has said, because what if they didn't actually, there's important things that they've said in there. What if they didn't declare actually something correct there? There might be, you need to remember what it is and keep that document on the file. The other document you will be getting is systematically is a fitting and content form, which again is, it's more about, okay, basic fittings, what is going to be included, what is going to be excluded, what is just not there. So again, you viewed the property thoroughly, maybe a second time, maybe a third time. So you've got to be clear about what you expect them to leave in the property and what you expect them not to leave in the property. So there might be things that you want them to leave, like the carpets because they're in good conditions, or the blinds because they're great. But you might not want them to leave the old furniture. So go through that, make sure you're happy with it. Sometimes some people will say, all right, it's excluded, but you can buy it for X. I've never had that actually, but okay, that's the form provides for that, and that's a long list. And again, if you feel, so when it comes to bedrooms, for example, or living room, all stairs, dining, kitchen, bedroom, there's something pre-filled here, and other rooms, so sellers tend to be very lazy at going through the details of what's there. So I would say if you're expecting the property to be empty, it's not that maybe important, unless they're saying they're going to leave all kind of things in there. But again, that's a separate inquiry to make sure that they're going to be removing what you want them to remove. As a quick tip, by the way, if I may, just opening a bracket here, check in the attic. It's amazing the amount of rubbish that people can leave in the attic. Sometimes sellers don't even know it's there because it's tenants that have put the stuff in there. But on another property that I'm currently buying, we've picked up that there is a lot of rubbish in there, and I said to the vendor, I'm not exchanging contracts until you've cleared that, and you send me photos of the cleared attic. I said, okay, I didn't know it was there. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Vendor, but that's your problem, not mine. So again, if you're not happy with the level of details, get them to redo it. It's your right. If they really want to sell, they will do it properly. Okay, curtain, blinds, etc., etc. That's all that's on there. Really, there's not it talks about TV and aerials, radio, satellite dish. You could have viewed the property thoroughly to know what you expect them to leave or not, and then it gets signed. So these are the basics you would get: property information form, EPC, and fitting on content, which is filled by the seller. So that's kind of part one. So moving on to the second part, the one thing that you will pay for through your solicitors to your solicitors is to get what is famous called local searches done. So these are currently environmental, coal, drainage, and what they call regulated searches. So let's open all of these and let's see what we get. So you get reports like that. What you may or may not get, depending on how your solicitors work, is actually a report or a document. So your solicitors apply for these, get them. He or she is supposed to go through them thoroughly and to let you know what the issues may be and what's all fine, So whether they'll put that in a short email to say, all right, I've gone through all 4 searches and all searches, and I don't see any entries which could be of concern, or if they are, they should be highlighting it to you. This said again, it's your property, it's your money, you're buying it. It's a big expense, it's a risk, and you're responsible and accountable. So I would urge you to go through these documents. Yes, it's not maybe fun for some of us to go and read all of that, but take the time to go through them and to ask questions if you don't understand, whether you seek this advice with your solicitors, but go through them, So this is regulated searches. What's great is that on the front you will have a summary. So local land charges entry, yes, red. Planning history, yes. Building regs app, yes. Planning designation proposal. So I know that on these 4 items there are entries. Something has happened from a planning, a building regs point of view to this property. I'm aware of it, as we've seen earlier, change of use, re-extension, etc. So I'm not surprised by this, but we'll have a look now. Roads adopted, so that's all okay. If it was a private road, you need to know, because there could be costs associated to that for the maintenance, for the access, for whatever. Public right of ways, no. Other matters, no. Road scheme, no. Rail, community, asset of community value, green deal, not affected. Call checker, clear, okay? So let's have a look. What do we have? So who's prepared that? Plan attach, no. So we go through that. Local charges, small control order. Okay, that's the entry for the first, yes. Which classic, many urban area. And then planning. Our planning is interesting. We've got a lot of stuff here. Look at that. So 9th of December 2009. I'd not picked that up before the purchase. Conversion for a former doctor's surgery to an 8-unit HMO. Don't know whether there's a high. HMO. Including erection of a re-extension granted 9 December 2009. Okay, so that tells me they had a planning application approved to convert the building from a doctor's surgery into an 8-bedroom HMO. Okay, but it's not an 8-bedroom HMO, it's an 11-bedroom HMO. And then that included also the re-extension. But where are my 3 other rooms? Next entry. Another planning application, also granted on the 17th of May 2010. Oh, that's a good day, 17th of May, that's my birthday. Anyway, change of use of conversion from doctor's surgery to 11-bedroom HMO with re-extension. So now that's the valid one that I'm interested in. Okay, so it's got approval for change of use from commercial or from medical center to 11-bedroom HMO, so we're okay, and re-extension and provision of rear parking after demolition of garage. after demolition of garage. Now, when I read that, and as I'm recording this video, I don't have an answer yet to that inquiry. And here is something that my solicitors couldn't pick up. But demolition of garage. There is a garage to the rear of the property, a nice one actually. Well, nice size building, it's not necessarily in good condition. But so now my question is, was that the garage that was there at the time that should have been demolished and maybe wasn't? Or are we talking about another garage? So I've picked that up. It's just one line here, 3 words, after demolition of garage. So I've got currently a query. I went back to my solicitor and said, hey, great, they've got planning to turn it into an 11-bedroom HMO. Great, they had planning for the rear extension. But what about the garage? And by the way, of course, these 2 entries here, or that 1 entry here, what I've asked, of course, is show me that planning approval. Sometimes you can download it online, but get them to do the work, So I've got another pack of enclosed document which are showing me the planning approval, and we'll go through it a bit later to see what it says, and if we've got everything here. Application for lawful development certificate for a rear extension with increase of 1.13 meter at first floor during construction, as shown on drawing, received by the LPA on. Oh, look at that! This is 2020. I mean, I'm recording this at the end of August. So this property has been on the market for over a year now. This is interesting. I know there's been a previous conveyancing with another buyer who couldn't go deliver on the purchase, couldn't get the finance. But I'm also aware, having spoken with the estate agent, that there was something around the planning that was not right. So what does that mean? So they had to apply 10 years after the development, recently, because they're trying to sell the property, or they're selling the property, for a lawful development certificate with the council to confirm that the rear extension is actually okay. Because you can see that the width has been increased of 1.13 meter at the first floor during the construction, compared to probably the drawing that was approved in this entry here. And there's a new drawing, 72510, received by the LPA on the 5th. So they had to resubmit the drawing. But that's interesting. You see, building get approval. So the story here, I guess, is they got approval to do a rear extension. And when they were building it, they actually decided to make it a bit bigger. But they never got that approved. So retrospectively, 10 years later, now that they're selling the property, the previous buyer did a good job, picked it up, and they had to apply for that to get a lawful development certificate. They have not provided. They've provided me a lot of document so far, but that they haven't provided to me. I said, why not? Why didn't you provide this lawful development certificate? So I'm asking for that as well. And then there's much older entries here. It's important to go through them. But here with 1980, 1987. Okay, we're going back 40 years now. So did you see just in the 3 lines on these local searches, which we would tend to overlook? I've picked up quite a few things which could be very, very important, which could make the property. So imagine if they didn't. If the rear extension is not built according to that, I mean, imagine if one day you got an inspection and somebody decides to check what was approved 10 years ago from the council, and they actually don't approve to the bigger rear extension, you would get an enforcement order from the council to tell you to either bring it to what is approved and make it smaller. You would have to reduce it and break everything. I mean, it would be a nightmare. Building regs, rear extension to form new accommodation for HMO, approved and completed. So I've got a questions around where is that building control completion certificate, but it's good to see that it's been approved and completed. The famous electricity installation installers document, which I said I didn't have when we looked at the property information form. Here it says actually there's an entry for Alexa record for wire of all recircuit in 2010. What is that? Alteration to form an HMO approved with conditions. So that was 2010 completed. So that's building regs as well. So that's a conversion into an HMO. Okay. And extension of first floor, access, staircase completed in 2001. It's an older entry. I think the current buyer didn't own at that time. What else do we have? And then we've got here, so the report is good because it outlines the entries, and after any other any other thing. So it just goes through a long list of things, and it will tell you basically entry shown on page 4. We've gone through them. Have you copies of the decisions? We can contact Move Reports UK to get the decisions obtained if we are not happy with what was provided. So which district is concerned, then some stuff about the public right of ways, the highways. No. So here we're all good basically. So these reports are well made because at the beginning you've got a summary of all the issues. So it's good to read all of that. It's can be of interest to some of us. HS2 very current, of course. What's happening? So it's running within the council boundaries, but not affecting the property. Traffic scheme, no, non-registered. That's what outstanding notices, conservation, building regs. You could have something here. You could have current enforcement order on a property, which could be very live. So you would pick that up here. Notices, orders, direction of proceeding under Planning Act. Enforcement notice, I've just mentioned it. That would be registered here. A stop notice, any other notice, a breach of condition, a planning contravention. So there's none registered against the property, even though we see that it might not be all 100%. I think it is 100%, but we will confirm that. Community infrastructure levy, okay, and what, if anything, has been affected there. Conservation area. So we spoke about that earlier. Compulsory purchase, non-registered. Contaminated land, nothing registered. Radon. Assess of community value, not applicable. And what else? I think that's it. Oh yeah, if there is a HS2 inquiry, so that window is still left blank when not affected. Call checker, clear. We're all happy. No shaft below the property. It's not an area that was affected. Again, there will be a plan here. Green deal as a property. Use a green deal to improve. The answer is no. And then you've got search information accuracy policy. That's just your service provider who does the searches that provide their insurance policy should they have got something wrong. So they are covered, which is good to know. So that was the first one. The other one we get is regulated drainage and water search. So snapshot summary, which is good, but I wouldn't just stop at this first page. So everything looks okay, but there are sewers and water assets within the property boundary. Are there public sewers running within 30 meters of the building? Yes. Where are they running? And here we go. We get the map. Now that's my property. And look at this sewer here. So remember on the property information form, our dear seller said there was nothing going through the property that was either leading to another property or coming to the property. Wrong. There is actually a foul waste. I think it's a foul waste. Public foul gravity sewer, which is actually running in the front parking or garden of all these properties here across. So it comes from this one, runs through mine. It's foul waste, so it's going down out and connected here. So you couldn't build probably anything into these front gardens because building over public or shared sewage is something you can, but you need to get permission. If you don't get permission and you build over such a drain, it happens that they run at the back of the properties. People go and build. Some people, I know of stories that people have built a rear extension above a shared drain that service several properties and never got the approval from the relevant authority or service provider like Severn Trent Water in such area, or elsewhere in the country would be somebody else. Then one day these guys want to go and come and dig or check the pipe, which they've got the right, and they say, you've got an extension above it, not legal, take it off. And that's another big issue. So that's interesting. Property information form said, nah, there's nothing. But actually the search report shows, I'm not concerned about it. I know it's a parking that I've got here in front, but it's important to know there might be a manhole, and one day somebody needs to come and open it. Here we've got other water keys, so that's the water main. Okay, nothing here running, so they connected to the houses like so. And then there are some other is a plan showing the nearest period. So they're just commenting about it's kind of an FAQ kind of list here. So see notes. Does a public sewer map show any public sewer disposal main lateral ramp within the boundary of the project? Yes. Refer to the plan. We are aware of public sewers disposal lateral, so that's the one we were just talking about. However, following the private sewer transfer 1st of October, there are lateral drains of public sewer which are not recording on the public sewer map. Therefore, we believe there may be possibly a non-plotted public sewer following the transfer, which may prevent restrict development. Therefore, the property remains to be checked if required. Okay. You see, I had not read that bit. What else? And so on. So yeah, 7 trend, we were talking about that. What else do we have here? Probably, okay, some generic information. You will find that explanation in all the reports. And that's the insurance again, probably, complaint procedures if we're not happy. Yeah, these are just the standard term of business. So we get this one. The other one you will get is call, past. Okay, so will coal mining activity impact the value of the property? Are there adverse mining features that should be brought to the lender's attention? Are there mining, etc., etc., etc.? And then you go through a long list, which you should read. Past. Of course, if you're in an area, I've had another property where there was some past history, and it's very common in the UK to find areas. It doesn't mean you shouldn't buy the property, but then you need to know what needs to be done, what insurances may be in place or need to be put in place. Report conclusion. Within the scope of this assessment, the site is not considered to be susceptible to mining-related ground instability. No further information is required within the scope of typical mortgage application. If the mortgage company is happy, you should be happy. You could be happy. Below exist relevant interpretive conclusions of the finding of this report. Okay, so nothing required further. Okay. That's just showing the so if there was on your map things around, it would show on the map all the things, subsidence claims, hazard zone, etc., etc. So it's good. You can see there's been another claim in the area. Site is not affected, etc. So again, something to go through in details, especially here I'm not in an area, so I'm not, everything is okay. So it's not the report I will spend most time on. And then they tell you what to do actually, so it's great with the color coding. And then after it's the covers, terms of business, the usual stuff, okay? And then finally, environmental, so pass, good. And that looks at ground stability, radon, planning constraints, screening, flood risk, energy, transportation, planning application, okay? So again, another document to go through. There's an issue with contaminated planning, mobile phone mast. Is there something that within the area, environmental survey, past land use identified here, flood risk non-identified, ground stability negligible, very low, radon not in a radon affected area. So it shows here within if there's anything recorded, within a certain radius. What else do we have? Energy summary. That would be, there would be oil and gas, wells and activity in the area, wind and solar, so plan multiple wind turbines identified, so that's going to be within a certain area. Transmission lines, might be another map somewhere. Oh yeah, HS2, the famous route. So check yourself where HS2, Crossrail, other rails were running. If there's any project, you should be aware of that. Telecom, mobile phone mast, they are everywhere in any case. So where are they? Good, it tells you, there's one at 156 meters. It's O2 the operator. Should be a good signal for O2 in this property, by the way. What else do we have? That's just about the methodology afterwards, in the document and so on. So these are all the documents, the standard one you would be getting to if you buy any property. If you got no planning history, no building control issues, that's probably everything you're going to be getting. Plus your title deed. Get your solicitors to explain to you whether there are any concern about the title deeds. And ask them, use them. You're paying for their fees, so use their professional advice to clarify anything you may not understand. And God knows if there are many things that we don't understand. I'm sure this video is going on for a long time now, but there's another thing I want to show you. I think it can be of value. We might do a part. Maybe we'll cut this video. So that was the end of part 2. We'll start part 3 now with all the attachment that they sent me. So that's all the attachment that they've sent me for the property that I am buying. So it's an HMO. So they've sent me the HMO license. Well, no. Well, they send me a one-page document, which is, what you see, what you get, and what gets posted usually in the HMO. So it's the only good information in there is that, yeah, there's a current HMO license valid. It's not transferable, so I need to get my own in any case. But what I know is that for 11 bedroom, they were allowing 11 people and not one more. So my idea is, well, I will try to get a few more, but there's maybe a risk here that they will never give me more than 11 people in that house. But the big issue I've got here is they've given me just a one-page document, because after it's about planning, and that's just not enough, because any HMO license comes with a schedule of conditions. If you've received okay, I'm an HMO landlord, I've got several HMOs, I'm quite used to these documents, but an HMO license is, yes, the official paper, the one-page document you've got to put up in the HMO, and that says you're all good. It's approved and issued to Mr. X, Y, and Z, or to this company of this address and for so many people, and it's valid for 5 years, as we can see here. But it's subject, and it says at the top, a license is granted by Warwick District Council subject to the conditions in the schedule attached to the license for the property at blah 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 blah. They've given me this, but where is the schedule of conditions? Sometimes they're very standard, but there could be specific conditions for this property that would have been inserted. My solicitors, I think, should have asked for that. But I went back to my solicitors and they said, great, I've got the front page of the HMO license. I want to see the copy of the schedule of condition. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for it at time of recording of this video. But getting just the copy of the HMO license, the front page is not enough. Back to our planning story. So remember, we saw that there were two entries, actually one for an 8-bed HMO and one for an 11-bed. So they've given me both documents. This is for the 11-bed with rear extension after demolition of the garage. We spoke about that. And they've given me the other one, which was the 8-bed HMO. So the one thing I will mention to you here is that a planning application, so it's great, I can say I'm happy, 11-bed HMO, plus extension, it's all above board. But what you need to always check with the planning approval are the conditions. It's like our conditions in the HMO license, but the planning approval is always subject to the following conditions. And some are box standard. Here we've got 1, 2, 3 conditions, and then notes. But the conditions need to be discharged. So they give you a planning approval subject to conditions, and then you've got to go back to the council, the planning department, with what you're going to do to address the conditions so they can discharge the condition. So here I've got a planning approval, but I don't have the discharge confirmations. Yes, the entry in the searches shows that it seems to be all okay, but I want to see the paperwork because I know that for when I had planning on some of my sites, I got then a further document, I had my planning approval, and then I had another document after that was saying, okay, condition 1 or condition 2 or condition 3 have been discharged following the submissions of a drawing or samples of materials or an inspection on site or the submission of an environmental ecological report or something like that. So where are the discharge documents? I'm waiting for the other thing is the development. Look at condition 2. Development hereby permitted shall be carried out strictly in accordance with the details shown on the approved drawing 72507 revision B. The specification contained there and so many don't have. I've asked for the copy of that drawing so I can see what they were supposed to build. We know from what we've seen earlier that they haven't built a re-extension according to the planning approval. Okay, they've got a document that says it's all okay and it's fine, it's legal, which they got this year. So I'm waiting for that. But I've asked for that also. I want to see the drawing, to make sure, the third condition, the car parking area, our famous garage, on the approved plan shall be constructed prior to the occupation of the development. Reason to ensure that adequate parking facility. I've got no idea what is in that drawing and whether the reality of the site, the actual situation on the site. I know there's space to park at the rear, but there is a garage at the rear, and here it talks about the demolition of the garage. So I want to see the drawing because I'm not sure that that condition has actually been discharged adequately, or they've done the work that they were supposed to be doing. That's it on planning. That's everything. Yes, completion certificate for building control. So with building control, usually you get two-stage approval. One stage is you get your drawings approved. So once you got your planning, got all of that, your condition discharge, maybe everything you can discharge up front, then you do a submission to building control, whether it's a council, whether it's a third-party company. And the first step is you submit all your building construction drawings, and they go through it. They've got comments, there might be amendments, changes, etc. And then you get a first step, which is a completion certificate from a building control point of view, or an approval certificate of the drawings. Okay, and then you start your build. And as you build, you will get inspectors to come and check the pipes, the foundations, the steel beams, and so on and so on. You know, they've got to come regularly before everything is finished, so they can see that you build according to the drawing. Then right at the end, there will be a final inspection. Everything is finished. You've submitted your electrical documents and your gas and your I don't know, structural report, whatever. And then your building control company, third party or the council, will issue a final completion certificate, which is the one that's very important. So here they've given me what's called a full plans completion certificate to this company at the time. So that was probably in 2010. But when I look at the dates, I am not sure myself if this document is the approval of the drawings, right, or if it's the approval of the complete build works. So again, I went back to my solicitors and I've asked, all right, Mr. Solicitor, can you find out what is this document they've given me? Is this, it says full plans. I am not convinced that this is actually the final building control certificates. So I'm asking. And then everything else they've given me is okay, certificate of conformity. I mean, after it's all the document about gas safe, the fire alarm, and the fire alarm, the emergency lighting, and they've given me a certificate of conformity when it was installed. They've given me some service records when it was checked. That was done, for example, in 2018, which is great. It's great they've got that and they give it. You know, and then we've got a gas safety further. I can't remember what it was. What else do we have? Yeah, this is all conditions report. That's my BS 7671 report, electricity installation testing. You know, I said I had that, so that's what they've given me, enclosed, attached with the property information form, and then the gas installation safety record. So that's dated when at this one. Oh, that was done this month actually. So I'm recording this when we 1st of September actually. Another one. So they've given me some, not quite service history, but some history of the PAS certificate, firefighting equipment test certificate, etc., etc. So this is really what I wanted to share with you today. Give you more information about you know, what are the documents that you should check and you should go. I'll put a disclaimer, probably, maybe I should have said at the beginning, I'm not a solicitor, so there might be many other things to consider during the conveyancing process, and there might be things that I've shared today that some of you will think, well, no, Sebastian, you haven't looked at that, or you've misunderstood that, because I'm learning as we go along as well. Really, the purpose of the video was really to share with you what my learnings have been over the years of investing in property, and give you an example of one property that I'm doing at the moment. If you got any questions, any things you're unsure, any comments, any suggestions, please put a comment. Please contact me below the video, wherever this is going to be published, on my YouTube channel or on social media. It'd be great to hear from you, and if you've got any topics you'd like maybe to hear more about, well, just let me know. If I've got some experience, I'll be happy to share that with you. So in the meantime, happy investing. Remember that the value of everything is in the implementation. As you know, I do help people with their property journeys, investment journey, business journey, and getting implementation done, you know, moving from knowledge. And I do that through one-on-one mentoring, so customized to you, your program, at your time and your pace. So if that's of interest, just contact me. It'd be great to hear from you. We can have a chat about that as well. So I hope that was useful. Please like and subscribe and or give me big hearts. That'd be great. I love big hearts if you like the video. Thank you very much, and see you soon on here.